Hello everyone, my name is Brendan Snyder. Thank you so much for joining me and welcome to another episode of New Music Finds, number 53. So this is where I like to collect together all the different music that I've purchased over the past week and present it to you. And I get it from different places like my local record store, but also online retail like Amazon, eBay, and more. And for this past week, I've got 7 new releases to talk to you about, which breaks down as 1 new release, 4 Japanese reissues, and 2 from my local record store, which I did film an experience video on, so I will leave a link in the description to that specific video if you want to check it out. For now though, if you're new to my channel and you haven't already hit the subscribe button, please click the button. Also leave a comment, hit like, all those things help support my channel. I would greatly appreciate it. And of course, as an added bonus, by subscribing, you'll be able to stay up to date on all that's going on in the world of music, just like this with New Music Finds, episode number 53. All right, and so kicking things off here, as we always do, we start with brand new releases. Now this one's a little bit delayed. It actually came out on February 4th, but I was having a little bit of trouble finding it. And I eventually found it on eBay, Stoichi. And so this one here, Live and Let Live, it's actually Mark Stoichi from Crocus as the frontman doing this. So this one here, debut solo album called Live and Let Live from the Crocus frontman, definitely worth checking out. This one here surprised me. It's actually really good. You can get it and stream it right now if you're having any trouble finding it like I did. So this one here, North American release at least, came out on February 4th. I think it has come out in different territories at different times, but it kept getting pushed back here in the US because it actually, I believe, came out in 2001 or 2021. Sorry, off by 20 years. But it kept getting pushed back and I was having trouble finding it. So if you're having trouble, for me, I located it on eBay and I would recommend checking out the same thing. Still no listing for it on Amazon or, kind of standard places for going to these things. But the album's good stuff. So if you've been missing Crocus like I have, definitely worth checking out. All right, now I've talked a lot about the Universal Japan reissues that have been coming out. A lot of great reissues of out-of-print albums, great glam metal bands and things of that nature, but there's a whole bunch of other stuff outside of those glam metal reissues that I've been talking about. So I had a lot of those already, so I wasn't picking those up. I had mentioned you ones like Trickster, Spread Eagle, stuff like that. So I already owned all of those, so I'm not ordering those. But the ones that I did pick up, we'll start with this one here. I've got 4 of these. Heart Magazine, second studio album, really great stuff. They come with the OBI strip. They've got the Japanese fold out, insert and everything that's in it. So US lettering or English lettering on the spines of these. So you can put them in your CD rack and it doesn't show the Japanese. You will be able to read it. This one here, if you don't know, there was some cool sort of history behind this in that they had started to record this album magazine, had a falling out with the label, left. The label puts it out as an unfinished product. Band, label, everybody sues each other. It is defined or figured out, in courts that the label has the right to put it out. So what Heart does is they actually agree to go back in the studio, finish off the album, and that's what this one is here. This is the official Heart magazine album that came out that was reissued. So there is a version on vinyl floating around out there that is the unfinished version, although it's probably pretty hard to find. But there are 2 versions of that album out there, this one being the official one. Okay, another one that I picked up in the rock vein, Billy Squier, Enough is Enough. So this one here was the one lone Billy Squier album that I did not have. The booklets and OBIs I keep hidden away inside that part of it, but they do all, again, come with the OBI strip. And so this was his 5th studio album. This one was definitely far more rooted in the 80s. The sound and everything that was part of this, just very much key to what was going on with the keyboards and the synthesizer and that sort of stuff. More of the straight ahead rock stuff came early on, and then amazingly, after this album, he started to really go back into that rock vein for the next couple releases. And then unfortunately, he kind of hung it up and he really hasn't done anything since about the middle 90s, which is really unfortunate. I wish Billy Squier was still out there recording things. Just an amazing guitarist that he is. The next one that I found was a band I didn't know anything about, but I did a little bit of research because I had quickly found that anything that was being reissued by this Japanese label was probably pretty worth checking out. And so I found this Canadian band called Rabbit, spelled with a W. R-A-B-I-T, and the name, you can't really see it there, you can see the spelling there. And this one I haven't opened, just came in the mail today. And so this one here called Rough and Ready, spelled with W's, and this one here came out in 1981, and then I also got their 1983 album, this one here called, I believe, West Side Kid. So two of these just came in the mail. You can see that they've got the OBI on them, they've got the Japanese writing there, but when we take it off, it will be the English language speaking thing. So this stuff here, some really good sort of straight ahead melodic rock. Kind of hard to describe, but definitely worth checking out. It's something that, you know, if you know other Canadian rock bands, Street Heart, April Wine, stuff like that, the sound of that from the 80s, that's very much what this is. And so, like I said, didn't know anything about this band, but I went ahead and checked it out. So good from what I had streamed from it, I went ahead and bought both of these. Now, these Japanese reissues, if you've not been following along with my channel, maybe you don't know. One, go to Amazon and just type in Universal Japan CD, and you're going to get all of these coming up. There are $16.99 on Amazon from Japan, but they're imported into Amazon, so they're readily available. You wait, you get some of these next day delivery or 2 days later kind of a thing, so you're not waiting 2 months for them. So that's really cool too. You're getting Japanese reissue quality for really quick and for not spending a lot of dollars on it, so that's kind of nice. I picked up these 4. I'm sure there's more. There's a bunch more that are getting ready to be reissued on April 1st. And when we get closer to that month, meaning in March, the end of March, I will do an album release schedule for the upcoming month, April. I will list out a whole bunch more of those so you guys can be ready for that. But right now, those are the ones that I'm focusing on, and I'll be keeping touch on what's coming in the future. I'll be trying to let you guys know, because so far it seems like what Universal Japan is doing is spot on. Now, as I mentioned early at the beginning of this video, I did do a record store experience video, a let's go to the record store, and I went to Academy Records here in Manhattan. And so I found 2 things. I didn't find a whole lot there, but I found some really good stuff. And the first thing I found completely changed my listening experience for the entire week going forward was this, the ZZ Top 6-pack. And this early on was actually what they referred to as a box set. It has 3 CDs in it covering 6 albums. And it's not just a collection of those albums, which is really cool about this if you don't know. Came out in 1987. It was the first issue of these CDs or of these albums on CD. And they didn't want to just put out those albums from the 70s. And the 70s albums had a different sound to them, a different feel to them. They were much more bluesy than that sort of 80s production that was from Eliminator and Afterburner that they were really known for by this point. So they went back in, they remixed those albums, they recorded new drums for them that had more of that 80s vibe to it, and they also put different filters and sounds on the guitars themselves to, again, make it more sound like that 80s level production. Now, a lot of people didn't like that, especially the people that grew up with ZZ Top in the 70s, but for those of us that grew up with ZZ Top in the 80s, this thing was a dream. It made basically 6 more albums sound like the 2 from the 80s. So I'd always really liked this. I never owned it. I was glad to finally get a hold of it. I've got some of these as individual CDs. I've got other ones that, like Tres Hombres, never been able to find a CD copy of it with that 1987 mix, but I finally have it in this here. So that was cool. That right there, in and of itself, really great. And I have to say, even the mastering of this versus the mastering of the individual CDs, the ones on the individual CDs kind of put everything more of an even keel to it, and it didn't really stand out in the way that this does. This here I like, has a brighter mix to it. The drums are much more up front in it, and you can hear those cool effects on the guitars, whereas the individual discs themselves kind of mixed it more evenly, and in my opinion doesn't have as much difference to it as what the 70s albums have. And so anyway, just cool stuff. If you didn't know, different mixes on these. If you own any of the albums from 2013 on, like in the box set, those are the classic 1970s mix. But when CDs were first issued for these albums in 2006, this was the sound, the remix from 1987 appeared on those 2006 albums. So there you go. One of the other things I found when I was at the store, which again was a cool thing, was this Patti Smythe debut solo album, Never Enough, 1987, $5. So good deal. Haven't peeled this off yet. Gonna peel this off before it really sets in on it. It has the original sleeve on it, so that's cool. Great condition. So Academy's got this whole section, $5 rock pop section kind of stuff that was in it. There's a ton of great stuff in it. I did show a number of things from my video within it, but a lot of good stuff at Academy Records. If you're in the area, definitely do check it out. But there you go. That's what I picked up. 7 new music finds as part of episode number 53. And as I mentioned, related videos, I will leave a link to Let's Go to the Record Store, which is the title of it, number 6 for Academy Records. And so you can see me going in there and shopping and picking up these things. Certainly I do an intro at the beginning and an outro at the end that shows all the things that I got. And then in between there, if you're not familiar with these, I show you a little bit around New York City and getting there. Then we go through everything and then I come back home and reveal what I bought. But a lot of cool videos like that, certainly other ones forthcoming. Just did another new one where I'm heading to another record store, but I actually stopped at the Metropolitan Museum. So you'll get to see a future one that'll have a stop there incorporated into it that should make it pretty interesting. Certainly, if you've enjoyed this video, consider sharing it out on social media. I would greatly appreciate it. And if nothing else, take care, have a great day, and I'll talk to you all real soon. Bye-bye, everyone.